Hello everyone and welcome back to another One Piece Cruise video. So we just got confirmation that Mihawk and Perona are going to be the next super evolution, and I just went through together a bit of a concept for this character's super evolution. I tried to find a balance between being realistic because I mean looking at Sabo and Koala, their super evolution wasn't the most satisfying, but I do have a good hope that this character will get some amazing upgrades because as it stands this unit really doesn't do much. So let's just take a look at what Mihawk and Perona currently does, and then we can look into what the concept will be. So currently, in their dual form, they get to a max of 4.5x. This character came around the time of Luffy and Law. So around that time, 4.5x was the maximum attack boost in a captain ability you'd see. But the captain ability is essentially just matching orbs, an attack boost, and an HP boost. There's literally nothing happening here. In Mihawk's form, you can either choose to go risky, and if you get a matching orb, you get a higher attack boost. In Perona's form, you get a bit of a middle ground between the lower and upper attack boost that Mihawk can provide, but you can't get to as high of a multiplier, so there's a bit of a balance there when it comes to Perona. But regardless, these characters want to work with type orbs. You don't want a recovery tandem. Not even orbs like Wano, similar. To be honest, those orbs were introduced only after this character came out. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle the super evolution. If they're going to introduce abilities regarding the new orbs that we have in the game. But the special ability and the swap effect are both absolutely horrendous. So the special maxing out at 13 turns after expansion, so 14 turns otherwise. It's going to reduce all enemies' HP by 20%, give block orbs into matching, and then double your damage dealt to enemies inflicted with negative status by 1 turn. And of course becomes their dual form for 3 turns. Okay, so this unit is one of the only characters in the game that actually inflict the enemy with negative status. The only other character, to my knowledge, is going to be the 6+ of Int Perona legend. Well, her 6-star form also does it, but her 6+ is obviously a lot better. But I'm pretty sure she's the only other character that does it. A very unique conditional attack boost. And in current day One Piece Treasure Cruise, where we can actually stack different types of conditional attack boosts, this is actually pretty good and could see opportunity, can see play in situations where you need to stack 2 different types of conditional attack boosts. And I did play into that when designing their 6+ concept. But as for the swap effect, is going to be very underwhelming. It changes their own orb into matching, not including block, a 1.5k heal, and then inflicting the enemy with negative status. It only goes through immunity if there are 2 or more enemies on the field, which is very, very uncommon. So most of the time, this will not go through immunity. You won't even be able to proc it for their attack boost from their special. So really, the only time this character sees play right now is in the Grand Voyage for Fushia Village. That's literally it. The only reason I have them expanded and at level 150 is for that content. But let's hop over to the Optc database and see what my concept for this unit will be. So going over to the Optc database, I do have all the changes made here. This character actually does have their tags, which is very interesting, probably because they are getting the super evolution right now. So one glaring issue with this character is that there's essentially no utility. They don't reduce any debuffs, they don't reduce any beneficial effects from the enemy. They essentially just have some very mid orb manipulation and a conditional attack boost. Their special, it doesn't even change like regular orbs into matching, it's only block. So very restricted on what this unit can actually do. But let's just take a look at what I think their special should be. So the special maxing out at 13 turns after expansion is going to deal 20% of the enemy's current HP in damage to all enemies. So that's the exact same. But then I can state that the crew can be immune to attack down for 3 turns. This is a very, very rare buff that not many characters have. Some characters that off the top of my mind are Treasure Map Koala, who has a similar effect, making the crew immune to attack down. What this essentially does is that after this effect is activated, if you move into another stage, and the enemy tries to give you attack down, it won't work. It's essentially the same as how the immunity works on the enemy, but for your crew, which is really cool. Unfortunately, immunity can only be available for icon debuffs, so you can't have immunity to, say, for despair or bind, even hunger stacks. I don't think there's anyone who has immunity to that. Attack down is just a great one. Having immunity to a single status effect, it's not overpowered, and I did design this character to work over multiple stages, so having that ability to activate this character special on stage, the second last stage of a quest, and then carry over it into the final stage, having immunity to attack down can be quite valuable. Then I slightly altered the orb manipulation, and instead of just changing block orbs, it changes all orbs on your crew into matching, which is much better. And then it's going to state that it's going to boost your attack against enemies inflicted with the negative status effect by 2.5x for 3 turns. This is much better, and as I said before, this is supposed to work over multiple stages, this special. And I think 2.5x is not overpowered, it's not too weak, and this is of course with the special at base. This is not level limit break 5 yet. So having that conditional attack boost for 3 turns is going to be a massive upgrade. And then we're going to add a bit of a tag system to this character. So if your crew has 2 or more 7 Warlords of the Sea or Paramythia type characters, then you get the following effect. But remember, tags count the unit themselves, so Mihawk Perona already counts for one of those characters. You only need 1 7 Warlords of the Sea or Paramythia type character besides Mihawk and Perona themselves. So honestly, this could go up to maybe 3 tagged units, because if you run double Mihawk and Perona captain, which you might actually do because I'll show you guys the upgraded captain effect, then you'd already fulfill this condition with just them alone. So I think this is quite lenient, mainly because I have Paramythia type there. There's many characters in the game that have that tag. If it was just 7 Warlords of the Sea, then this would make a bit more sense. But honestly, I think that could maybe bump up to 3 units with those tags, just because Mihawk and Perona themselves count as 1. And then if you do fulfill that requirement, you will get a clock buff. And if you don't know what a clock buff is, it basically says that after a turn or 2, then you'll get a certain effect. Not many characters have this. It's quite rare, but it's very helpful if you are trying to clear content over multiple stages. So after 1 turn, it will allow the crew to stack 2 conditional attack boosts for 1 turn. It will also inflict the enemy with negative status, ignoring debuff immunity and immunity excluding certain status effects for 1 turn. So both of these effects activate after the turn, and it will allow the enemy to be inflicted with negative status, which will then proc your conditional attack boost. So in the ideal situation, you'd use the super swap effect of Mihawk and Perona on stage 4. That'll inflict the enemy with the negative status, and then you can use the special. It will give you a conditional attack boost for the 4th and 5th stage, and then since you have that clock buff, you can get the enemy inflicted with negative on the final stage once again, allowing you to profit from the conditional attack boost. And since you are allowed to stack 2 conditional attack boosts, you can use another conditional attack boost that will increase your damage exponentially. And of course becomes Mihawk and Perona for 3 turns. Now what changes if you have level limit break 5? So I think 2 things change. 1, we add a ore block on the turn you initially activate the special. This will just allow you to carry over those matching orbs over both stages, allowing you to essentially keep all the effects from the special over 2 stages, including the matching orbs. And then also, if you land 2 perfects when you use the special, then on the next turn you will get a increase in conditional attack boosts. So that includes the conditional from the special. It will increase that by 0.5. So if you use the special of Mihawk and Perona, you tap 2 perfects, you go into the final stage, it will be a 3x conditional attack boost. And I think this is a great asset, and honestly this special I can see myself actually using. I don't think it's overpowered. It's giving you a very solid orb manipulation. It's giving you immunity to 1 debuff, so a good amount of utility that's not too much or too little. And then it's giving you a huge attack boost in a 3x conditional attack boost. And that can only be reached when you get to level limit break 5. So for most people, it will stay as a 2.5x, meaning it won't be too overpowered. But if you do have the character maxed, you get a even better multiplier, and you get to keep your matching orbs. So I think that's a good middle ground with the level limit break 5. We're not doing too much extra, but we're not making it so that you really can't notice a difference between level limit break 0 and level limit break 5. I do think there should be a significant difference, because you need 9 duplicates of the legend to unlock this ability. It should be substantial. And I think having an orb block and such an increase in multiplier would definitely suffice. But that's it for the special. I'm very happy that I included the tag system. I think they will get some sort of mechanic with the tags. I'm pretty sure the Subway and Koala also got that. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different character. Either way, I do think using the tag system is definitely a possibility. Now, as for the swap and super swap effect, initially, it really is bad right now with a regular 6-star form. So, currently, they just changed their own orb into matching, not including block. They give a 1.5k heal, and then inflict the enemy with negative status, and it can only go through immunity if you have 2 or more enemies on the field. And I think that conditions should stay for the regular swap. Otherwise, it's too easy to inflict the enemy with negative if in the regular swap it also goes through immunity. So let's take a look at what I gave her. So it's going to change the character's orb, including block now, into matching. It will then recover 3000 HP, which is a teeny bit better, and then inflict the enemy with negative for 1 turn. It will, if you have 2 or more enemies on the field, then it's going to go through the immunity. It will also reduce cruise paralysis by a turn. I think this is a very much needed addition. Even if you change the orb, including block, into matching, there's still something that's missing. It's doing way too little for a swap effect. So I think reducing cruise paralysis by a turn is going to be much more beneficial. And then we have the super swap, which is going to take 5 regular swaps to get charged. It will change the slots of the character themselves and adjacent characters, including block, into matching. It will then reduce cruise paralysis by 3 turns instead, and then inflict the enemy with negative status through immunity with no condition of having 2 or more enemies on the field. I think this is a great super swap effect, giving you matching orbs, decent amount of utility through the paralysis reduction, and then also allowing the guaranteed negative status effect to proc the conditional from their special. I think this is a great swap effect, and going in tandem with their captain ability, which I also changed, of course, I think that paralysis reduction will make this character really, really good. Of course, their sailor abilities are going to remain the same. I assume that's going to happen. It never changes, or never it becomes something that's actually usable. Now, as for the captain abilities, multipliers are increasing significantly, because right now, there's like, they have such bad multipliers. They have 3x attack boosts in like the singular forms. That is not going to do in big old 2025. So let's take a look at what I did for the singular forms. So I kept a similar premise, basically the exact same thing, but now it's a 4.5x in Perona's form. No, this is Mihawk's form. So in Mihawk's form, a base 4.5x, but if you have a color orb, then it's going to be 5x instead. You'll also give a turn of cooldown instead now, instead of having absolutely 0 cooldown reduction. And then he will also give a 1.3x HP boost that kept the same, and then also lowers the chance of getting recovery and tandem orbs, makes strength and psi orbs beneficial. So as I said, very similar. The only thing that changed now is that we're getting an extra turn of cooldown, and also getting the increase in multipliers. As for Perona, also very similar. Instead of being a low multiplier, it's kind of a middle ground between 4.5x and 5x, being 4.75x. Basically the exact same thing, but also have the added effect of if you have 2 or more characters with the tag 7 Warlords of the Sea or Paramythia type, then you get a added effect where negative inflicted enemies allow you to do an extra 1.1x damage. So this is very similar to the new ace, which states that you get an extra 1.2x damage against enemies inflicted with burn. So I think having that effect is very likely and increases the value of Perona's form. Of course, that is not going to be too common, only on the turns when you use the super swap and maybe the special with level limit break 5 will you actually be able to get that effect. But of course, that is going to increase with the dual form. Now the dual form is very similar, but now we have multipliers that go from 5x to 5.5x when you have a color orb. You also get the main added effect of reducing paralysis by 2 turns, but this is only available when you have level limit break 3. But either way, the effect from Perona's singular form, where she increases damage against negative enemies, is also going to be present in the dual form, and it'll be even stronger, being 1.2x. If you do have level limit break 3, all multipliers in terms of the base, like Captain attack boost, is going to be 0.25x stronger. So in the dual form, they'll go from 5.25x to 5.75x, and then in their singular form, for Mihawk, it'll be 4.75x to 5.25x. In Perona's form, it'll be a flat 5x, which is very usable. If you have an enemy with negative, Perona in her singular form will be a 5.5x attack boosting captain, which is really strong. And one of the main issues with dual units as captains is the fact that their singular forms are really bad. But I think the multipliers here with level limit break 3 are going to be very nice. But just having that effect of the paralysis, I think, is much needed. I think it's going to be very essential in making this character actually worth running as a captain. And if you run double Mihawk and Perona, and you use the super swap effect, that is 7 turns of paralysis reduction. So in essence, you can reduce both 7 turns of paralysis and 99 turns of attack down using this character. So I could definitely see how they would be used. And honestly, I think this is a great captain ability. I think maybe this could be added, this paralysis reduction effect. This is to all their forms. This is both of the singular forms and their dual forms. So you don't have to worry about being in the dual form to get that ability. But I think it would help this character significantly. And even though it may seem like I made this character a bit too strong, because if you take a look at their level limit break 3, they'll have up to a 5.75x. And then if the enemy has negative, it's going to be further increased by 1.2x, which would bring this character up to a like 6.5x attack boost, which may seem ridiculous, but you have to remember the character is only getting those multipliers when they have a color orb. So you can't use one orbs. That highly limits your damage, and I think having higher multipliers to make up for that is a good idea. But let me know your thoughts. I think this character is great. Of course, I don't think they'll change this much in their kit, but I would like it if they become a unit that has some form of utility, but mainly works over multiple stages to provide damage throughout your quest. And I think if this character's main selling point is a conditional attack boost, allowing them to stack would make a lot of sense, and just increasing the multipliers would make it a lot more usable. But let me know your thoughts. Once again, tell me how if you think this character will get a significant upgrade in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe while you're down there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, and I'm out.